a group of misfits entering a Las Vegas dodgeball tournament to save their cherished local gym from an onslaught of a corporate health fitness chain.
Good job.
Thank you. This is Ryan.
And this is Ashley.
And this is
Ruining Our Childhood,
a nostalgic weekly podcast where a married couple rewatches and reviews our favorite 90s and 2000s movies to decide if they hold up to our adult standards.
Yes. And if you didn't notice that Ryan read that summary because I am having a time and cannot read.
You always practice it, and you always nail it the first 2 times. And the minute we record, you're like, I can't read this anymore.
It's that pressure.
Yeah.
It's knowing that I'm recording, or knowing somebody's watching me do it, or that this has to be the final product. I get a little inside my head and freak out, and then I can't say onslaught. Is that how you say it?
Yes. Yes, you said it correctly.
On the old IMDb.
There you go.
Yeah. Again, with the not being able to pronounce that. This week, we're doing the 2004 classic Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Yes.
And it's a poll winner
Okay.
on the old social medias.
I felt like this was one of the more definitive winners, where it won across all the platforms.
It did, yeah. Usually we have, like, sometimes Instagram will randomly be, like, really for one specific movie, and then the other two are kind of even. But this one was even across the board.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what we're talking about our weekly polls.
Yes. Over on all of our social medias, on
Yes.
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And we're going to extend them for a while, I think. We were only planning to do them for 2 months, but then we thought, you know, they're fun, and people like voting, and people like commenting when they're happy, when their movies win, like Christy on Facebook and Alicia on Instagram were really excited that Dodgeball was going to win. So,
And the other thing that I was thinking is when you suggested extending them out, it would give us a bigger pool of losers to kind of match up. So it wasn't these two were losers, next week it's the other two, and then the ultimate loser going, like, it was going to only be spread up over a 3-week thing.
yeah.
Whereas now, if we extend this out for a couple more months, we're going to have a nice pool of losers
Yes.
to kind of spread them out.
Maybe over the summer.
Yeah.
Over the summer of unknowns.
That's
But-
life.
Especially right now.
Yes.
So, yeah, that sounds like a plan. I'm glad we're discussing this right now live on the podcast.
That's how we do it.
So, 2004 was a good year for Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a good year for Ryan?
Yeah. I had just finished, when this came out, it came out in June. I had just finished my freshman year of college.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just graduated high school. I had the world ahead of me.
I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with optimism.
Go ahead and hit us with some 2004 facts, and then we'll talk about Dodgeball a little bit.
Yeah. The movie was released on June 18th of 2004. It had a budget of $20 million, and it grossed $167.7 million. Some popular TV shows from 2004 were CSI, American Idol, and Desperate Housewives. Some of the popular songs were Usher featuring Little John and Ludacris, Yeah. Juvenile featuring Soulja Boy Slim, Slow Motion, and Outkast, Hey Y'all.
Those were some songs.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't do the movies. Popular movies, Meet the Fockers, starring one of our stars. The Incredibles, and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Nice.
Yeah. Good year for cinema.
I would say. Do we say that a lot?
I think we do, but I feel like this was the time period where I was going to a movie pretty much every week, and there was probably about a 5-year period. So I see a lot of these movies show up on the top 10. I'm like, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This came out, I know I discussed a lot of times where when I was, especially movies that come out in the 90s, I never really saw them in theaters because I barely went to the theaters when I was really little.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like that sweet spot where I had a car.
Mm-hmm.
I had a job, so I could go to the movies whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
and I went to the movies quite a bit. I'm not sure who I saw this with. Probably some of my high school friends. I don't think I saw it with my brother first, so that's like a first.
Hey, now. Yeah, I think for me it was similar. I probably went and saw it with some buddies, and maybe my brothers went.
Yeah.
But I know I saw it in theaters. I just don't know with who. This was the time period where exactly I still lived at home. I don't think I even had a car payment because my brother gave me a car.
Nice.
So I'm like rolling in dough.
Yeah.
I can go to the movies all the time.
It's true.
Yeah, it was nice.
I wasn't really rolling in dough because I did work part-time.
Oh, no.
And I think about how much money I made. I think I made like $150 a week.
Oh.
I did get paid weekly, though, so that was sweet.
My first job was weekly.
Yeah.
But it was part-time, and I'm talking like 6 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, my paychecks were like $25.
You're like, taxes?
Yeah. I was definitely working full-time because I did work full-time my first year of college, which is probably why I didn't do so hot on the college side. I was like, well, I could apply myself or I could go have fun.
Yeah, but you had moved out of your parents' house, right?
I moved out.
Or that was the second
It
year?
was at the end of this summer is when I moved out, yeah.
Because I was thinking if you were living on your own, then you would need a full-time job. But I was still living with my parents. And like I said, I just graduated high school. So
yeah,
definitely miss those days where I didn't have to have that much money and I could spend it kind of the way I wanted.
Yeah.
Without any real responsibility.
It was nice to get a paycheck and go, what am I going to buy this week?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've said it on the podcast before, but 90% of the time I'd head straight to the mall to my favorite store, Maurice's, and buy like 3 outfits. Maybe 3 outfits. They were pricey.
I was bad in the sense I worked for a large retail chain at that point, and I would pump that money right back into the store. I'm like, oh, what video game should I go buy? Walk right out the door, and there went $50.
I mean, having worked at that same place, I do know I've done it too.
Yeah.
I remember the one time walking out of there after a shift with like $60 worth of makeup, and I was like, what? Do I really need all this?
And then you went, yes. Yes, I do.
So, I guess we can move on to, does this hold up? Does it? Will it? What is your prediction?
I kind of thought about it a lot today, and I kept going, I don't think it's going to hold up because I felt like I really enjoyed Vince Vaughn at this time period, but I think in hindsight I look and I go, I don't always think his stuff ages well. I still really enjoy Ben Stiller's acting in his movies. Like, we both really love Walter Mitty in a lot of his movies, but I think it's the Vince Vaughn factor that's going to hurt the movie. And there's going to be some offensive jokes, because I know some of the, even Ben Stiller's character and the way they portray.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going it's not going to hold up.
I agree with you that it's not going to hold up, but I think it's actually because of Ben Stiller's character and what I can remember of the amount of fat jokes even. Like, don't get me wrong, we try to be very understanding about, obviously it's a different time, it's 2020. We're trying to be a society where we don't fat shame people, we don't make fun of people because maybe they are different. I'm using air quotes because what is really different? Everybody's fucking different.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to age well, and I don't know if they're going to be even funny to me. But I'm going to try to keep it on my mind, but I think that's the number one thing, and there's probably stuff that I don't even remember, because again, I don't know the last time I saw this movie.
I'm thinking it was at least 12 or 15 years ago for me. I'm kind of looking forward to the cameos, because I'm sure there's people that I forgot were in this movie, because I felt like in this time period, Will Ferrell would make movies, Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, and they would all kind of pop up in each other's movies. Even if it was just a real brief cameo, like that was it was a treat when you would be watching these movies. You didn't know who was going to appear.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So, where you can see this movie, I always feel like that's such an awkward where you can see this movie. If you don't own it like we do, you can.
I do like when you say it, you always say it like it's a brag. Like, if you're not as, what's the word?
You can't even think of
I can't think of the word. if you're not lucky enough to own this cinematic treasure like we do.
$12.99 DVD. That's probably $20 when we bought it.
Let's be honest, yeah.
It is on HBO Now and HBO Go, either or. So you can access it on there if you have the HBO subscription.
Nice.
And yeah, so I guess, do we have anything else to talk about, or should we go watch this movie?
We should go watch this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and hit the
pause
and go watch Dodgeball and come back and talk about it like we always do. I did it again.
Yep. Okay, and we're back. We just finished watching Dodgeball, and we're going to go ahead and break down our movie with our categories, like we always do. And our first category is Well, Hello There.
Well, hello there.
Where we talk about any cameos of famous or recognizable actors or actresses that we forgot were in the movie. And who did you notice?
There was a lot. So
Yes.
bear with us for at least a good 20 minutes. If you want to fast forward, we understand, but we do love talking about actors and such.
Yes.
So, yeah, the first one I noticed was Chris Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, besides the lead characters that you should remember if you've ever seen this movie, Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn, Chris Williams plays Dwight, and he works at Average Joe's, the gym that Vince Vaughn's character Peter owns. And he's been in a lot of comedies. And most notably, I know him from Silicon Valley, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and then he was in something else.
Wasn't he on Ugly Betty?
Was he?
I thought so.
Oh.
With his much more famous sister, who he probably hates.
Is he Vanessa Williams' brother?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's Vanessa Williams' brother.
He's kind of pretty, like... Yeah, okay, I can see it. He's got, like, the pretty eyes. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
What else was he in that I just looked up? I don't know. Like, something recent that we watched.
Oh.
I don't know.
Let me click on him. Oh, he was on The Great Indoors with Joe McHale.
Maybe that's what it was. And it wasn't something recently we watched, but I just remember him from that. But anyway, Chris Williams plays Dwight. The end. Who's yours?
The end. The first one I noticed was Joel David Moore. He played Owen, who was kind of the nerdy guy that worked at Average Joe's.
Yeah.
And the main thing I know him from was Bones.
Yes.
And then I did see he's actually in the next 2 Avatar movies.
He's been in all the Avatar movies.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
so he was in the original Avatar. Fun fact, he'll be in the sequel, guys.
And he had like a 1 or 2 episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., remember, in the last season? He played one of the Chromicons. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, now that you mention that. Because I kept going, I'm like, what do I know this guy from? And then I was like, oh, he was on Bones. That's the main thing. But
yeah, for sure. Same. Yeah. My next one is Stephen Root, who plays Gordon, who's one of the team members of the Average Joes. And he is from a lot of things, but most notably Office Space.
Milton.
Milton. And he was a thing that we most recently watched him in, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He played Charles's father.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite characters is True Blood. He plays Lafayette's first lover, I guess. I mean, he was a prostitute, so one of his Johns.
I always kind of trip out a little bit because I most associate him with Milton.
Yes.
And so when he pops up in other things, he's never that nerdy. I mean, he's kind of nerdy in this movie, but you realize how they really nerded him up for that movie. Because he's just a normal, handsome guy.
Yeah.
But they really...
You think he's handsome?
He's handsome. He's a good-looking man.
He's a good actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, too. But
yeah.
Those are the 3 main things I know him from. Who's your next one?
My next one is Justin Long.
Yes.
Who plays
Justin.
I always like when on TV or in movies where the actor has the same name. Like I remember them always making fun of Tim Allen and saying that he had to be Tim on Home Improvement because he wouldn't answer to any other name.
I think it would be an adjustment, especially if you're like new to acting, to be called something else. But at the same time, I'd also find it a little weird to be playing a character with my same name.
Yeah, exactly. And Justin Long, He was in Accepted and Live Free and Die Hard.
You're
New
naming
Girl.
all of his amazing movies.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of things.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of things.
He was in that romantic comedy with Drew Barrymore, who was
Go
his
the
girlfriend at the
Distance?
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always liked that one.
That was a good one.
What was my next one? Alan Tudyk.
Ooh,
Did I say his last name right?
I believe so.
I'm always afraid I'm going to say it wrong. He plays Steve the Pirate.
Mm-hmm.
And he literally has been in so many things.
And then a bunch of things that people probably don't even know he's in
because
of his
good
voice acting.
Yeah, he's a good voice actor.
Yeah.
Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of other things. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I can't even name anything right now off the top of my head.
And the main thing that I tripped out when I learned he did the voice was Wreck-It Ralph playing King Candy.
Yeah.
But
because it doesn't specifically sound like him.
No. Mm-mm.
You know how there's voice actors where they can do different voices, but it, like the tone of the voice sounds the same. Like, is it E.G. Daily? Is that her name? That does like Tommy Pickles' voice? And everything you hear, and she kind of has that raspiness, so you know who it is.
Mm-hmm. When you said the name, I had no clue who you were talking about, but then once he said, does the voice of Tommy Pickles, I'm like, yeah. And when, was it Valley Girl that she's in?
She's in Valley Girl, and then she had a guest spot on Friends, where she was the friend of Phoebe who steals Smelly Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The minute you pointed out who she was, I could not hear Tommy Pickles' voice when she would talk.
And it's just weird because like she has a sex scene in that movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
yeah. When she does like, she'll be like, oh man, or something like that. All I can hear is Tommy Pickles talk. Yeah.
I just went so too short.
Okay. My next one was Julie Gonzalo. And the main thing, she plays Amber in this movie. She's a cheerleader who's friends with Justin Long. She was Parker on Veronica Mars.
Yep.
And then also she was on the Dallas reboot that we watched like 2 episodes of. Gave up on it.
Yeah. Wasn't for us.
No.
But, you know, to each their own.
The best part of that show was the theme song. Everything. It was downhill after that.
Poor Jesse Metcalf.
Yeah. Jesse Metcalf.
The next person for me was Christine Taylor, plays Kate.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been in a lot of movies. Zoolander.
Yes.
And Brady Bunch movie. She played
Marsha.
Mm-hmm. And The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
Which is a show we featured on this episode.
Mm-hmm. Movie we featured on this podcast.
I've had a beer.
And also, I believe now Ben Stiller's ex-wife. I don't think
they're
married
no
anymore.
longer married.
Yeah.
But I always thought they were a cute couple.
Yeah, they were. My next one was Lori Beth Denberg, who played Martha, one of the cheerleaders, and the main thing I remember her from was All That.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does shows with, why can't I think his name? Danny Trebinelli from Mighty Ducks and Pete and Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do like nostalgic shows. And they might have a podcast too.
Oh, wow.
But I follow Danny on Instagram, and they always post stuff. But they do like shows in Los Angeles, like, and they talk about the Nickelodeon days and stuff.
Yeah, because that was one of my favorite shows when I was growing up, was All That. Yeah, with her. And she was always hilarious on that show too.
Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah. It's crazy because like Amanda Bynes was a really big star for a minute there.
Yeah.
But the fact that Kenan Thompson kind of just transitioned right from that
to
a couple
SNL.
years later to SNL, and he's been on SNL for like 15 years now.
As they make jokes, it's his show.
It's his show. Yeah. And you know what? If you had asked me to pick a star from those early Mighty Ducks movies, I would have told you that guy was going to be a star, and it was Kenan Thompson, because he was the best part of Mighty Ducks 2, best part of like Heavyweights.
It's amazing when somebody so young can have like such good like comedic timing.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
It's
and
crazy.
Obviously worked out well for him.
Yeah, definitely.
My next one was a little bit random, but Jamal Duff. He plays Michelle.
Okay.
He looked really familiar.
Uh-huh.
And he played Zeke on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is Terry's brother-in-law.
I never knew that.
Yeah, because I was like, he's a very large man.
Yes.
And he makes Terry Crews look like a tiny person.
Yes.
Which is the reference of how big he is. But yeah.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
And he's been in some other things, but that was like the number one thing
when
I recognized him from.
Said his real name, I'm like, who the hell is Ashley talking about? You blew my mind.
I like to.
Yes. My next one was Hank Azaria.
Yes.
Who played young Patches O'Houlihan. And Hank Azaria, when I was growing up, was on Mad About You. He played Nat the dog walker. He was married to Helen Hunt at one point, and probably most famous for doing a ton of the voices on The Simpsons.
Yeah. It always blew my mind when I was a kid because I loved the birdcage.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays their housekeeper / I think he dances at the club too. I don't know if he does. I think he's like one that wants to, and they're like, whatever, because he's a little extra.
Yeah.
But he was always my favorite part in that movie. But then it blew my mind when I realized he was the one that did so many voices on The Simpsons. I was like, what?
You're like, whoa. That's another thing. Like when you see the person who voices characters, it never
clicks in your brain.
It never clicks. Like we mentioned Alan Tudyk, now Hank Azaria. It never. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was yours.
Yes.
Oh, another person that had a very small part in this, but I recognized her, was Gordon's wife. It's played by Susie Nakamura. And she is actually in Dead to Me, which we're catching up on the first season. I've seen it, but you have not. So I'm doing a rewatch with you. She plays one of Christina Applegate's neighbor, the one that gave her the casserole. And she's just like, imagine your husband gets hit by a car. And that's what it's like. And then
I can't imagine what you're going through.
Yeah. And then she was in Dr. Ken. And I'm surprised we never watched Dr. Ken because we love Ken Jeong.
Yeah.
And all of the Community people guest starred on it almost all of them.
Yeah.
And yeah.
We'll have to check it out. It's only like 2 seasons, I think. So
I think it's like, for me personally, I have a hard time getting into shows nowadays, like when they first start. Because I feel like they get canceled so easily. Mm-hmm. I don't even want to like invest time in a new series if I know it's just going to get canceled.
And I'm more such nerds that I follow websites where they'll tell you what they think are the odds that a show is going to get canceled. So I let that influence me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you remember when Parks and Rec came out, probably the first 2 years, I was like, they say it's going to get canceled, so I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
It was on for 6 seasons.
We started it, and then you're like, I think it's going to get canceled. So then we just like let it pile up in our DVR, and then, And it took us a year or two to get back into it, but glad we did because it's one of our favorite shows.
Exactly.
Your next one?
My next one was Curtis Armstrong. He has a real small cameo in the movie as Mr. Ralph. He kind of, I would say, runs the little primary tournament that Average Joe plays in.
Yeah, like the local.
Yeah, so they can qualify. And he was in Revenge of the Nerds. Booger. And then the other thing that more recently we've seen him in was he was the principal, I believe.
Yes, in New Girl.
On New Girl. Yeah.
I feel like it was in something else we saw recently, too, but maybe it was one of the movies we did for an episode.
Could be.
I don't know. But yeah, he's...
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, he's Booger in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah. Another movie I haven't seen in a good 20 years that I don't think will hold up. Just to count for some scenes that I do remember.
I think I've seen it one time, and it was because they filmed part of that movie at the University of Arizona. And my brother went to that school, and he stayed in the one dorm where like a lot of the movie was filmed.
Nice.
So when they would give you your tour, they'd quickly point out, Revenge of the Nerds was filmed in this dorm, just so you know.
Sure. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The next person is Missy Pyle, plays Fran.
Yes.
Which is a very, I guess, memorable character. Mm-hmm. She's from a made-up country, right?
Yeah.
It didn't sound like it was real. And she has a unibrow, and she's supposed to be really ugly, but Missy Pyle's a very attractive woman, so even then she doesn't look that ugly.
Yeah.
But she's on Ben Stiller's character's team. Mm-hmm. The Cobras or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. The Globa Gym Cobras. because they come out and they're like,
yeah. And Ryan just did the
yeah. Nerd, folks. Nerd.
What was your next one?
Oh, and Missy Piles and Gone Girl and was in Big Fish and
She's the type of actress where I feel like she's been in everything.
Yeah.
Like just smaller parts, usually the character actor that they were like, let's get somebody that can be funny for like 3 lines and she'll knock it out of the park.
I was going to say, she'll come in and nail it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Who's your next one?
My next one was Rip Torn,
yes,
who played old Patches O'Houlihan, and he was already on the Larry Sanders Show, and the other big thing that I recognized him from was Men in Black.
Yeah, same. And then he passed away last year.
Oh, wow.
Did you not know that?
I thought it was a lot earlier.
Oh, no, it said 2019.
Okay.
The next one was not physical, but it was a voice that we recognized, but it was Patton Oswalt was the voice of the announcer in the pizza commercial in the scene where White Goldman is having private time with a slice of pizza.
Yes.
And I looked up the trivia, and he actually did the voiceover for the beginning of the movie when he has a message, he, meaning Peter, has a message from the video rental store.
Oh,
that's him as well.
Nice. Yeah, he calls him up to tell him a bunch of pornos are basically late.
And Mona Lisa smiles.
And Mona Lisa smile. Yeah. That is correct.
What was your next one?
My next one was Gary Cole as Cotton McKnight, who is one of the announcers from ESPN 8, The Ocho.
The Ocho.
And Gary Cole, the big thing I remember him from as a child was playing Mike Brady in those Brady Bunch movies.
With Christine Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, and Gary Cole's another one. He was in Office Space.
True Blood.
Yeah. We watched Heart of Dixie earlier in the year. He's on that. He's just been in a ton of stuff.
I feel like he played somebody else's dad in something recently.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other announcer, Pepper Brooks, was played by Jason Bateman. And I remember when I first saw this movie, I went, that's the kid from Little House on the Prairie, because I'm sure he did a lot of acting he was in Teen Wolf too.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen a lot of stuff that he was in, so I literally was like, that's the one kid from Little House on the Prairie.
I kind of looked him up because I was like, what was the first thing that I remember him in as an adult? And earlier in this year was when he started on Arrested Development. But prior to that, which I
earlier in 2004.
2004,
because you made it just sound like in 2020.
2020, which I did not watch Arrested Development when it was on. So this was basically the first thing that I had seen him in as an adult. This and Starsky and Hutch. Huh. So,
interesting.
He's amazing. I love Jason Bateman.
Yes, we on the 3rd season of Ozarks right now.
Can you imagine if you're a kid and this is the first thing you saw him in is Ozark? And you're like, oh, that guy's such a good actor. And you're like, funny thing, he's amazing in comedies.
Yes. That's mostly what I feel like he's been in. Juno to me was like, his part was a little more serious. But he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love Jason Bateman.
What was your next one? We're almost done, guys.
My next one, which is really probably only WWF fans would recognize her, was Candice Michelle, who she was the women's champion at one point. She plays a go-go dancer.
Oh, like the dodgeball cheerleaders.
Yeah, it's real brief, and I just kind of glanced up. I was like, that looks like her, and it wasn't. You said, you're like, yeah, I saw it in the trivia that is her. Yep. So, yeah.
I was like kind of waiting for you to, because I couldn't pick her out of the lineup. David Hasselhoff made a cameo.
I was like, I think there's another syllable you're missing there, Ash.
As the German coach, because, they had to make fun of the fact that Germany loves him. And
old Mitch Buchanan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your next one?
My next one is the great Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a timely reference.
No, it is not.
Especially considering the things that he was saying.
Yep. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Tour de France winner. Former Tour de France winner.
Yes. The next one was another good old cameo of William Shatner. He plays the Dodgeball Chancellor.
Yes. And he gives a speech and he says, like, by the power invested in me, like he's officiating a wedding to give out the prize. The last one I had was old Chuck Norris.
We're just calling people old.
Well, he
old
is.
Chuck Norris, yeah.
He's like pushing 80.
Yeah.
Looks great for his age.
Thank you,
Walker,
Chuck Norris.
Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll make a cameo in the new one.
God, I hope so.
Same.
Yeah.
Just kick some ass.
He comes in and beats up Jared Padalecki.
Aw. You don't want that.
Dean or Sam.
Or both.
Or both. Oh, and I had actually one more, and it was, I noticed Peter's dog is Baxter from Anchorman.
Oh.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I'm like,
he looked like he had longer hair. Did they cut his hair? I don't know. He was only in that one scene.
Yeah,
really.
just real brief. I was like, Baxter? No.
So 20 minutes later, I think I guessed that correctly. We can move on to our next category. Kids would call it a throwback. We call it the prime of our teens, where we talk about fashion, offensive jokes, and dated references. I was waiting for the music, but I'll probably put it in before.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway.
Best part is, I was jamming out to it in my head over here. I'm like, yeah.
Any fashion you wanted to talk about?
I have a few. Right off the bat, White, when Christine Taylor's character comes to visit him in his office, he has these shorts that he can inflate the crotch to make it appear he has a better endowment down there.
It definitely reminded me of 2 episodes ago when we were talking about Casey Jones's crotchal area.
Mm-hmm.
It was just as insinuated, but it was like metallic.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. I think I just had notes on him because his look is just amazing. He looks like a 70s porn star.
Yes.
Because he dresses like his suits, like he wears a white leisure suit.
With a purple neckerchief?
Yeah, to try to ask out Kate.
Mm-hmm.
And his hair is feathered, and it fits with his character. I just don't think it fits with the time, and I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't, nobody would have thought he was styling when this movie came out.
No.
But I think you hit the nail on the head about being like a 70s porn star. Like he has a Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
Which outside of Hulk Hogan, who rocks that?
He has that gross mentality.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else?
We talked about our love and affection for Jason Bateman, but if you watch this movie, his hair is amazing.
Yes.
It is so spiky. He looks like he belonged in a late 90s boy band.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of his wardrobe was very similar to that too.
Yeah. He honestly could be the pretty fly for a white guy music video guy.
Yeah. His hair was pretty amazing.
Yes.
What about some offensive jokes or dated references?
For me, right off the bat, it wasn't really...
Is it right off the bat?
Right off the bat. Very first thing in the movie, it was kind of offensive, and I'm like, this is unnecessary, is they just do a montage at Globo Gym, and it's just shots of boobs and butts. Totally unnecessary.
I think in this context, it works because once you get a sense of Ben Stiller's character, White, he's really obsessed with having a good body. Mm-hmm. And then he's also a creep to women and such.
When you put it like that, yeah. But I felt like there wasn't so much of a attention paid to like biceps and legs or anything. It was just literally like, check out this busty woman. Check out this nice butt.
I think like later in the movie when the Average Joe crew is trying to raise money before they realize they could win it at a dodgeball tournament,
mm-hmm.
they're having a car wash, and across the street, some college girls are having a car wash, and I felt like they focused on the college girls' like bodies a little too much, like that you wouldn't see that today as much. No. And I thought that was out of place. Like, okay, we get it, they're hot girls.
Yeah.
Earlier in the movie, personally, I think it was a little more in context with understanding the character of White, but still, regardless.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make a lot of lesbian jokes to Kate.
Mm-hmm.
They say, oh, she's a lesbian because she played softball.
Yes.
But then Rip Torn's character, Patches, takes it a step further, says dyke, and I think he calls her Billie Jean King at one point, which is a reference.
Yes.
And also offensive joke.
Yes.
I mean, not really offensive to her, because Billie Jean King was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And she's a national hero, I would think.
I mean, she played a man in tennis and beat the ever-loving shit out of the guy.
Yeah.
So
she was also gay, so
yeah.
I guess that was the insult, but not really seeing it as an insult, really.
I think 16 years ago when we were still more homophobic, but now we're much more, a lot of us are much more advanced in our thinking and
advanced. Like we're robots.
Yeah,
we're advanced in our thinking.
Well,
a lot of people aren't going to be yelling out stuff like this just on the fly.
Exactly. Fun fact about the word dyke. My brother, I think, thought he created the word, but he thought it was, is it a synonym for the word dick? So he went around calling us dykes for like 2 weeks, and my dad finally was like, do you even know what that means?
How old was he?
He was like 14.
Oh, okay.
14 or 15, and he told him, and that's like, that's another word for a lesbian, you moron. Like, you didn't create that word.
Well, it's an insult for a
Yeah,
lesbian.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's an insult for a lesbian. You didn't invent this word. Stop calling people it.
I had a similar thing where I thought I invented a phrase when I was like 10, and I thought it was so cool. It wasn't an insult, though. I can't remember what it was. And then I slowly realized when I'd hear it in movies and stuff, I'm like, I don't think I invented that.
You're like, no, I gave myself too much credit.
Yeah, it seems like all of the, I guess, offensive jokes centered around the older Patches character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was almost just like them playing it safe, kind of like in Community when they kind of put all the offensive jokes on Pierce Hawthorne, which is Chevy Chase's character, because they're like, well, he's an older white guy who is racist.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like playing it safe in a way, because they're like, well, it's the old white guy saying it.
Yeah, it's not so offensive if it's an old guy.
As long as everybody else is just like, don't say that,
Yeah, because right before he gives his, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, and he throws the wrench at Justin Long, right before he does that speech, he calls him a queer bag.
Oh, he did say it really quickly, and I didn't catch it, because then Justin was like, what?
Yeah, but then he whips a wrench at him.
Yeah. And then he calls Peter the Q word, queer.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not a bad word unless you mean it offensively, because I feel like people took that back. But he calls Peter queer because he didn't want to go hang out with him with some hookers. I'm like, okay.
Yep, that makes you queer, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of gay jokes, but...
Oh, and he does say the R word.
Yes. Yeah. I literally, every offensive thing other than like some, like we said in the beginning of the podcast, that going to be some fat shaming or just fat jokes that probably weren't going to fly, but I feel like most of the offensive things came out of Patch's mouth. So.
Yeah, agreed.
The only other thing I had in this category was at the Las Vegas tournament, they're all staying at the Monte Carlo, which doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Because it's the Park MGM now.
Yes. Very swank inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always liked the Monte Carlo.
Same.
But I like it now, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's fancy.
Fancy schmancy.
I would say it's more hip than fancy, but...
It's a nice mixture.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys are Vegas nerds like me and Ashley, we go usually a couple times a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you want to move on?
Yes. We're going to go ahead and play our messages on our answering machine and talk about some technology.
I didn't have anything for this category. There was an answering machine.
Yep.
And there was some boxy computers.
Yep.
At Globo Gym. Mm-hmm. They had like a security system where they were watching the average Joes.
Yeah, spying on them.
Yeah, with their little stand-in that they put in. Mm-hmm. A Trojan horse, if you will.
It's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
The only other thing I had was Average Joe's had a phone booth by their front door, like rather than just a payphone on the wall, which would still be a dated reference. And he just had an old vending machine.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I got really distracted at the beginning of the movie with all of the people I was writing down for the Well Hello There that I might have missed some other things.
It was insane, and I try to keep them in order of appearance of the movie, and I'm just like, oh my lord, I recognize this person. It was out of control.
It was. Since we did have this on DVD, though, there were some amazing trailers, including Taxi with Jimmy Fallon and Queen Latifah.
Yes.
Girl Next Door
with Alicia Cuthbert
and
Emile Hirsch,
Paul Dano.
Yeah, Paul Dano. I believe Oliphant is in that movie.
Yes, he plays her creepy boyfriend / porn agent. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was a dirtbag, let's be honest.
Star of The Mandalorian Season 2, Timothy Oliphant.
Is he going to be starring or just going to be in?
I believe he's going to literally be the star of the second season.
Oh.
I'm sure Pablo Pascual will be in it as well.
I don't know.
Curveball. He replaces him.
We've never seen the show. I hope somebody
never watched it.
Listening is like, what?
Yeah. We're gonna watch it
eventually.
Yeah.
We're late to a lot of things.
Yes.
Because we continually watch the same shows over again.
We did our 7th rewatch of Community.
Oh, one of these days. There was also a commercial for Pauly Shore is Dead, which I totally forgot was a thing. It was a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like a meta thing? I don't really remember. I don't even know if I saw it.
I never saw it. But he is, when he showed up, I said, that is someone we need to do some of his movies for the podcast. Son-in-Law was a movie I loved as a kid, and In the Army Now. Biodome
and Son-in-Law for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do a Pauly Shore week.
Pauly Shore month.
God, no.
Sorry, no. We'll probably end up in an insane asylum.
If anybody's ever seen the one episode of Community where they take a class on Nicolas Cage and the teacher, well, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's always really funny and everything. He was like, don't try to watch all of the Nicolas Cage movies back to back or you'll go insane.
And Abed does.
Yeah.
And he just starts acting like Nicolas Cage.
Just, that's how I feel would happen. I'd just start talking like Pauly Shore, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
No, it's a bad idea.
Did you have anything else for this category?
A couple songs on the soundtrack. The great Apache by the Village People, who you cannot hear that song without thinking of Will Smith and Alfonso Ribeiro doing the Jump On It dance.
Yeah. And Fresh Prince.
Yes.
That was a good memory.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have anything on the soundtrack. There wasn't anything other than that song that piqued my interest or memory. Do you want to move on?
Yes.
The next category is called Is It Even Good? Or, as I like to call it, Let's Get Digging, because there might be some plot holes.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the plot?
I thought the plot actually was somewhat believable.
Yeah, that a small business would be being bought out by a big business.
And they're looking for a kind of a get-rich-quick scheme
to save it.
To save it, yeah. So I didn't think it was completely out of the question that this would be a possible plot.
Yeah, there's just like little things that are definitely movie.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it was exactly the amount of money that they needed, which was the prize for the Dodgeball tournament. But yeah, I agree that, big businesses buy out small businesses all the time. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's Mom and Pa getting bought out by Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any plot holes?
The only one that I really had was, I don't know why Average Joe's would keep the standee of white. I know they kind of graffitied it, but if they had just went, that's garbage, throw it away, destroy it, white would never know their plan to enter a dodgeball tournament. Which I guess, obviously this is important to the movie that he does find out and then he creates his own team. But I'm saying if they had just thrown it out, they wouldn't have had that competition.
And then they wouldn't have Kate who threw the dodgeball underhand like a softball and broke it.
Touche.
I don't know. Touche.
Shout out to The Great.
Yeah, we just watched the first couple episodes of The Great. Nicholas Hoult is hilarious in it.
Yes.
He's a horrible human being.
Terrible.
His character.
Yes.
But I love Nicholas Hoult.
Yes. Did you have any plot holes?
So I was like, where are we? We're just talking about Nicholas Hoult.
Let me get you back on top.
Let's just start a Nicholas Hoult podcast. I had an issue with the very end. Like, don't get me wrong. In movies, there's always got to be that love interest. And even though Kate didn't seem to really like Peter in that way at all through the movie, there wasn't really... They had that one moment where he kind of interrupted White at her house where she assaulted White.
Yes.
With cause.
She made him bleed his own blood.
I love that line. And then he like goes in her house and they have a little chat. But I didn't think it was romantic at all. And then at the very end, after all these jokes about her being a lesbian, her supposed girlfriend comes down from the stands and they kiss. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, she is a lesbian. Okay. And she's like, I'm bi. And then she makes out with him. And I'm like, okay, you can be a bi, but isn't that your girlfriend? She just said she flew from like Tokyo or something like that. And
yeah,
just because you're bi doesn't mean you're polyamorous.
Yeah,
you know,
that's very true.
So I'm like, does the person that wrote this movie not know what bi is? That's my only knock. That's my biggest plot hole.
I didn't notice it, but the minute you started explaining, I'm like, yeah, that's an excellent point. Why would she just start? Oh, hey, by the way, I like guys too, so I'm going to make out with you right in front of my girlfriend, who I clearly am in a committed relationship with.
Well, I mean, they didn't explain it. I guess we could just assume that maybe they do have an open relationship, or maybe they're just like casually dating.
Yeah.
Either way, you know, the hero gets the girl, sort of.
Like they always do.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all I have. How about you?
I just had that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was your funniest line or moment?
My funniest line, and it's one of those lines that I almost could quote verbatim, is when they lose to the Girl Scouts, but then the Girl Scouts get disqualified for one of their players testing positive for 3 anabolic steroids and a low-grade beaver tranquilizer. And it's just the way the one Girl Scout reacts to her teammate, and she's like, God damn it, Bernice!
Yeah.
And it's clearly a guy dressed as a Girl Scout.
I think it was just a tall girl.
Well, she had really hairy arms and a mustache.
They added that, I think. I thought she looked like a girl, just a older girl compared to the other teammates.
I thought it was a guy, and I just love when Bernice covers her face and goes, oh. Like, it's just really deep.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Mine was when Kate goes to the gym for the first time to meet with Peter, and she's supposed to help him. Well, basically, she's actually supposed to help Lobo Jim acquire them, right? Mm-hmm. But she's also kind of helping him sort through, get his stuff in order.
Yeah.
When she's like, I'm a lawyer. He's like, what kind of a law are you into? Pretty eyes? She's like, sexual harassment mostly.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
It's perfect.
And then I don't know why this one scene, I'm going to do a second one. When they're at the hotel in Las Vegas and Justin and Dwight and I think Kate run into, what's her face?
Derek and Amber?
Yeah. And
the cheerleaders?
Because there's also a cheerleading tournament happening. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we're going to go ride the roller coaster, which I assume they're riding the New York one.
I would assume,
so it's like the closest one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Las Vegas nerds.
Mm-hmm.
Dwight's like, you never know. He might fall off and break all of his bones. And he's like, my cousin. It happened to my cousin. Boop, dead. I don't know why when he said boop. Yeah. Boop, dead.
And also you weren't expecting him to say he died.
Yeah.
It's just like, boop, died.
Yeah. Did you have any other ones you wanted to talk about?
I cracked up at basically everything Jason Bateman says on commentary, down to when they come in and announce that the average Joes have forfeited, and he just goes, interesting strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him. I'm like, they're forfeiting.
Yeah. I love that. And then at one point he's like, something about Cotton says something about pumpkins. He's like, I sure do like pumpkins, Cotton. But it had nothing. He was using pumpkins in a different context, and Yeah, everything he said was amazing.
Yes.
What about your cringiest moment?
My cringiest moment is, we mentioned him as a cameo, Lance Armstrong. He runs into Peter at, I think he's at the airport.
Yeah, because he's Peter
ready
at
to
this
leave.
point. Yeah, is ready to give up.
Yeah, because White offered him $100,000 to just walk away. Lance Armstrong gives him this speech about having beaten brain, lung, and testicular cancer at the same time and not giving up. And, he was able to overcome that and win the Tour de France 5 times at this point, because he wins it 7.
Yeah.
And I'm going, you are our country's darkest doping scandal we have ever had.
Cheated.
Yeah.
Bro.
So it's just...
It ages the movie. I put it as a in a way, a dated reference because it's like before we knew the truth.
Yeah.
Gotta love. I think that's the thing that dates movies or TV shows in general is when you get a person that's like culturally relevant to the time. Mm-hmm. I always think of in a lot of the shows growing up where they'd get the hot music artist of the time who just had a single drop or something, and it was just a one-hit wonder. So you rewatch that show and you're like, oh, Bewitched? Not Bewitched. What was the
one on Boy Meets World?
Yeah, where they're in the diner.
I can't think of that.
Was
name.
Bewitched a girl group?
Yeah.
Let us know, guys.
They were the Irish one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it was them. It was a different one because they didn't have Irish accents. I don't remember that.
Mm-mm. But when you kind of started talking the way I thought you were going to go is Jared Fogle being on Community.
Yeah.
And it's like, he was relevant at the time, but also a criminal.
Yeah, they were sponsored by Subway.
Yeah. I felt like they sponsored a lot of shows.
On NBC, I think.
Yeah, they sponsored Chuck, which was another one of our jams that we loved.
Yeah.
What was your cringiest moment?
Mine was, it's supposed to be cringy, but it's just creepy, was during the car wash that I talked about earlier, most of the guys are wearing like short shorts and really revealing things, which is funny. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we only have one customer, and he's just creepily watching Justin, who's in this like gold...
Hot pants?
And he's washing the guy's tire, and the guy just is playing with his belly button and like rubbing his own belly button, and he's just like, yeah. It's just so creepy, but it was hilarious. But
still creepy as hell
for sure. And I could have listed a bunch of stuff that White Goldman did. But
White's pretty bad.
There
was a scene, it's right when they start the tournament, and it's the camera moving through the locker room, and it's the most unnecessary, like, stereotypes. There's a team of black guys, so of course they have to be wearing, like, velour jogging suits.
Like they're late 90s rappers.
Yeah, and then they pan by the German team, and of course they're praying to a picture of Hasselhoff, which then we find out later is their coach, and then they show the Japanese team, and they're wearing sumo outfits and doing like weird sumo warm-ups. Like they have to hit all these unnecessary stereotypes.
Definitely every single team had some sort of cultural stereotype.
Yeah.
I feel like that's I think if it represented the place well, I guess it could be done today, but not in such a cartoonish way.
Yeah. And it was even more so unnecessary because if you put the Japanese team in a normal outfit and the German team in a normal outfit, it doesn't affect the movie.
No.
But you gotta like try to...
It's amping it up for comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of falls flat too, by the way. It's not even that funny.
It's not really that funny. I had a similar thing. We'll talk about later when it comes to the awards.
Okay.
I did like that there was a lot of physical humor. Like one of the funnier parts was when Justin got hit with a wrench.
Yeah.
Because not so much that he got hit with it, but he was sitting there yelling. And it's just like that gag like on Family Guy when Peter hits his knee and he's just like, ah.
Yeah.
But I read a trivia tidbit that said that they were made with rubber, but the first one that they threw at Justin Long was like a little harder than the others, and it really did it cut his eyebrow.
Really?
Yeah. So, not
Jesus.
fun.
Yeah, no.
Did you have anything else you want to talk about?
I was kind of thinking the same thing as when they're whipping the balls at each other, and they're people taking them to the face.
Yeah.
I'm like, they don't look foam. They probably hurt like hell.
No, it must have been hard to not cringe. Because you're as the actor, you're expecting it. You know it's going to happen, but as the character, you're supposed to be caught off guard. So that must have been kind of hard.
Yeah. You get to stand there and act like you don't know this is being thrown at your face really fast.
Yeah. I think that's all I had. Other than they had to make the dumb references of balls a lot. Because balls, dodgeballs. He doesn't have any balls.
There you go. Just as an additional note, ESPN, like once a year, does programming where it's essentially, they call it ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Nice.
And they do a day of programming where it's just the bizarre stuff that would have been shown on ESPN 8. They actually did it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they do it pretty much every year.
I did like the opening of the broadcast, and they showed like clips of different they're like, it's kind of sports, and it was like lawnmower racing and stuff like that. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was well done. Very
much.
Should we move on?
Yes. That was my awards show music, and it kind of sounded like Super Mario. So
we have music. We put it in there.
As always, it is award season here on Ruining Our Childhood. We give out 2 awards every week. The first of which is the valedictorian to the Nicolas Cage Online School of Bad Acting. Who did you give your award to?
It's another movie where I feel like it's an ensemble cast for the most part. I know Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller and Christine Taylor primarily, like, I guess, the main characters.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't really have a movie with all the other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up giving it to Joel David Moore, who plays Owen.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about the group that's on the team of Average Joes, I feel like everybody had kind of a concrete, small plot. Like Justin, he is kind of nerdy, and he wanted to be a part of his cheerleading team and didn't make it. So he's kind of got that going for him. And then there's Pirate Steve.
Yes.
I almost said Roger.
Old Pirate Roger.
Pirate Steve, he's talks like a pirate.
Yeah.
And legitimately thinks he's a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gordon kind of is a little disgruntled at home, doesn't have a very good marriage. And I just felt like Owen, the only thing, he was dumb.
Yeah.
And he was attracted to Fran.
Yes.
But I felt like his plot points weren't that great. I think everybody else had a defined purpose, and he was like so close to Justin's age, I would say, that they were kind of almost interchangeable. But Justin distinguished himself more, I felt, as a character. That, like, at the end, he's like, "Who's Steve the pirate?" And I thought that joke kind of fell flat.
Like, how dumb are you?
Like, if they had to remove somebody from the team, if they removed him, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, they would have been just fine without him.
Yeah, but nothing against Joel David Moore. I think he's good in the things he's in, and he was good in this movie. It's just out of all of them, he's the one I could have removed. How about you? For
me, it was Rip Torn as Patches O'Houlihan, because I get he's the old player, the old veteran player. He was really good at it and all this, but it's all the dialogue that they wrote for him is what dates the movie probably more than anything, because it's racist, it's homophobic, it's really unnecessary, like all this stuff. I mean, he gets some fun parts about the dodge a wrench, dodge a ball. That's cool, but the rest of his shit is what dates the movie probably more than anything. There's not a lot of dated clothes or technology.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
How you said you could take Owen off the team, I'm like, you could take him out of the movie, Rip Torn out of the movie, and the movie would have been just as fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
In hindsight, like, the character, because he's this dodgeball veteran, is definitely had purpose, but I agree with you that he definitely was the number one thing that dated the movie as far as the offensive things that were coming out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to move on?
Yes.
The next awards, the Thomas J. Hanks Award for exceptional acting. Who did you give yours to?
I gave it to Pepper Brooks himself, Jason Bateman.
I had a feeling you were going to.
He comes in and he steals all the scenes he's in. And it kind of like Will Arnett in that movie Semi-Pro.
Yeah.
It's kind of a very forgettable movie, but Will Arnett's the funniest part as just a broadcaster.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that way about Jason Bateman. He's, the guy gets hit in the crotch with the ball and he's like, ouch town, population you, bro. And then they were talking about it's a 2-on-1 situation in Dodgeball because the one team's just down to one player. And Cotton McKnight's like, it's the Devil's Menage a Trois, 2-on-1. And Pepper's just like, usually you got to pay extra for that.
Yeah. No, I when I was a kid watching for the first time, he was definitely one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
And I thought the movie was hilarious throughout, but he definitely gave it extra.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was going to say, when I saw in theaters, he was the part when I left that I was like, he was so freaking hilarious.
Yeah, for sure. I gave mine to Ben Stiller.
Okay.
Even though his character can be a little problematic when you think about it, I think he did a really good job playing him.
Yes.
And I thought there's a lot of the funnier parts, aside from Jason Bateman, were surrounded around him. Like how he was so awkward when he was trying to fight and he couldn't think of insults and they were just really poor insults.
You mean when Peter goes up to his hotel room and he walks in and he says, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Pedro.
And he's like, what? He's like, we're opening a gym in Mexico. It's totally unnecessary.
He's that type of guy that has a lot of confidence because he's lost weight and he really puts a lot of work into his body now. But he also says the stupidest thing and then gets defensive when you're like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but he reads a lot of books.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was a close second for me. Like you said, he's playing somebody. He's not... Vince Vaughn is essentially, if you ask me, the same character he plays in Old School.
I was thinking, honestly, Vince Vaughn, I felt like he barely even had any dialogue in this movie when you really think about it. He is definitely the straight man, and the funnier parts that I think of Vince Vaughn is when he's just giving White Goldman weird looks because of the shit that's flying out of his mouth, and he's just like, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
But my favorite line is, you kind of mentioned it earlier, was, nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody. And then he snaps his fingers and Michelle comes up on a little moped, I think. Ugh, it's good. But he just was a horrible character. Real creep, but he played it well, so I had to give him the award.
He was delightful.
Do you want to move on to answering the question, does this movie hold up? And what do you think?
I think I was incredibly wrong. I didn't think it was going to hold up, and I put it on Vince Vaughn, who, as you pointed out, doesn't have a lot of dialogue. He doesn't really say anything offensive that much.
No.
White has some of his stuff a little offensive or edgier, and like I said, if you could take Rip Torn from the movie, like his racist and homophobic dialogue, it's still really funny.
Yeah.
And not very dated as far as technology, clothing, any of that.
I could have did without some of the fat jokes, like the scene where Justin Long's talking about why he didn't make the cheerleading team. And it's because the actress from All That, I can't remember her name.
Lori Beth Denberg.
Yes. Fell on him. Stuff like that. It was just like, to me, that is pretty offensive to anybody that's of larger stature. So...
No, agreed.
And, I get when people get offended by that because it's a tired joke by now.
Yes.
It was probably a tired joke in 2004.
Yeah.
And even like Ben Stiller in a fat suit. But I think overall, like you said, there was a lot of parts that were funny. Vince Vaughn wasn't an issue. I think like sometimes in movies he plays like a higher energy jerk. But I think in this, because he's kind of defeated and he just wants to like help people have confidence in a way. Like, he was just kind of laid back more.
Yeah.
He really was the straight man in the whole thing. And I think all the other characters were really funny and good. So I think overall the movie did work still. It still was funny.
Yeah, there's just a few parts, random cameo by Mr. Armstrong. You take out some of that stuff, it's still, like you said, it's a real good cast as far as they're all very funny, and it's still a decent movie.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, I did have one little fun fact that I think you would have enjoyed was Ken Marino auditioned for the role of Steve the Pirate.
Really?
Didn't get it, obviously.
Wow.
We love us some Ken Marino.
Yes. Vinnie Van Lowe.
Yeah.
From Veronica Mars.
And numerous other funny things.
No, he's amazing.
Yeah.
I loved when I went to Disney probably 5 years ago and I realized he's the technician on the Aerosmith ride. I don't even think he has a line. He's just sitting there.
You're like, it's Ken Marino.
I'm like, holy shit, it's Ken Marino. But you weren't there with me. So I'm like, I said it. I'm like looking around. I'm like, none of these fuckers know who Ken Marino is. I hate you all.
Ashley doesn't ride roller coasters. And I just said Ashley.
Talk about yourself in the third person.
I will.
Yeah. The Rock does it.
The Rock does do it.
And he made a damn good living.
He still makes a
damn good living. Yeah.
So another one in the books for us, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said earlier in the episode, if you want to help us pick our next movie for next week, you should do that. And this week, this coming up week, or tomorrow, if you will, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, we are doing a poll brought to you by baseball movies.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I did not. Even though I'm pretty sure I picked the movies for us.
Oh, well, you picked a movie and I picked a movie.
Okay.
That's how this works.
Yes, go ahead.
The first choice is going to be A League of Their Own.
Okay.
An amazing tale about women playing baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And it stars Thomas J. Hanks. As well as Gina Davis.
I know there's Gina Davis. Yeah.
And your pick was Rookie of the Year. I was hoping you'd remember it.
I went, did I pick that or Major League?
I'm surprised you didn't pick Major League, but
Rookie of the Year made a good impression on me as a child, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys like baseball, definitely vote in the poll. If you don't like baseball, also vote in the poll.
Yeah.
And just know who you're choosing.
Yeah.
Do you like me better or do you like Ryan?
Thank you.
You're like, damn it. I'm just kidding. It's not a competition. I'm just saying that a lot of mine have won. I think Dodgeball was your choice, though. And Three Ninjas was my choice, technically.
I thought I picked Three Ninjas.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, I know I picked Dogma.
Yes, you did pick Dogma, and I picked Jay and Silent Pop. But you can vote for those polls on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yes.
And while you're there, especially if you're subscribing to any of those, go ahead and subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you listen to and throw us a little review.
Yes. If you have an iPhone or you have a Mac, go to the podcast app and review us, please.
Yeah.
For the love of God. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it helps us out. It does. So,
and it also will help you out in the sense they'll start making suggestions off of what you're listening and reviewing. So it benefits you.
Do you want to know
well.
the podcasts that are listed under our similar when you search our podcast?
Please. Are there some good ones?
Let's see. So it's literally only one for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's The Dark Side of, and it's a podcast where they talk about the dark side of charities.
Whoa. And we're over here talking about movies and trying to be funny.
Oh, they dig up into everything from charities to the founding fathers to the Bible. So they just go into depth into different things where we don't go into depth at all. But there are a lot of movie podcasts.
Oh,
so
yeah. And
a lot of movie podcasts that do a similar thing to us. So we appreciate that you listen to us and that you like us. And so thanks for listening.
We know you have a choice, and we appreciate you choosing Ruining Our Childhood Airlines for your flying needs.
Okay, let's end this thing.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye. Sorry. A group of misfits enter a Las Vegas dodgeball tournament in order to save their cherished local gym.
Oh my God.
From the onslaught
Oh, you're done. You cannot do it.